Chapter 6. The Shadows of Pier 21. Nancy crouched in the dark parlor, her fingers tightly gripping the edge of the table. "Constance, stay low," she whispered into the shadows. Outside, the steady drone of a motor car engine idled for a tense moment before its tires screeched against the wet gravel road, its headlights sweeping across the ceiling as it fled into the coastal storm. Working quickly by the warm, flickering orange light of the hearth fire, Nancy checked the kitchen table. Lord Ashley's Titanic letter was safe, untouched by the flying glass. She carefully rolled the precious parchment back into the brass cylinder and slipped it into her pocket before helping her cousin up from the kitchen floor. "The local police will only see this as a common break-in," Nancy reasoned, her eyes fixed on the brick resting amidst the shattered window panes. "But we know the truth. The Syndicate is terrified of what Lord Ashley left behind. We have to decode his final clue before they catch up to us." Constance rubbed her arms to stave off the chill pouring through the broken window. "Where the recovery met the shore," she repeated thoughtfully. "Nancy, in April 1912, the recovery ships didn't bring the victims to the standard commercial docks. The grim task of unloading the Mackay-Bennett took place at a highly restricted, secure area near the old railway piers, right where Pier 21 stands today." "Then that's where we go," Nancy declared. By the following morning, the storm had broken, leaving the Halifax harbor draped in a thin, low-hanging maritime mist. The historic waterfront was alive with the deep, rumbling whistles of steamships and the shouting of dock workers. Nancy and Constance navigated the salty maze of the wharf until they reached a weathered wooden workshop at the edge of the historic shipping lanes. Above the door, a fading sign read, "MacAskill's Rigging and Sailcloth." Inside, the air was thick with the scent of pine tar, heavy rope, and old canvas. An elderly man with deeply lined features and a silver beard sat on a wooden crate, carefully splicing a thick hemp line. This was Captain MacAskill, a retired sailor who had served as a young crewman aboard the Mackay-Bennett. I remember Lord Ashley," Captain MacAskill murmured, his eyes turning distant as Nancy showed him the scratched crest from the brass cylinder. "A tragic business. His body was one of the last we brought up from the icy waters. But there was something foul afoot at the docks that day. A prominent harbor official, a man named Harrison, was desperate to intercept the Lord's leather valise before the provincial registries could log it. He claimed it was a matter of state security, but we sailors knew greed when we saw it." Nancy leaned forward, her pulse quickening. "Did Harrison ever find what he was looking for?" "No," the captain shook his head, pulling his pipe from his woolen coat. "The registry clerks stamped it with the crimson ribbon and locked it away. Harrison died a bitter man, but his son still hangs around the waterfront. He runs that old, derelict shipping warehouse at the far end of the modern pier." Nancy walked to the dusty window of the workshop, looking out at the foggy harbor. As her eyes scanned the cobblestone street, she froze. Idling directly across the road, its matte black paint dripping with morning dew, was the heavy vintage motor car from the cemetery. Behind the rain-streaked windshield, a pair of cold, unseen eyes was watching the workshop door.